Journey's 100th show, join me and producer, host, and my mother, Brenda Roberts. Welcome to Journey. I'm Tara Roberts, Brenda's daughter and also a director for Journey. We thought it would be fun to share some of the more colorful guests and experiences with you and also let you see another side of Brenda Roberts, also my mother. Well, Mom, so nice to have you here.
Well, it's a delight to be on your show.
Terrific. I think it would be very interesting for everyone to hear how you got started with Journey and the TV show. And I certainly know that's not something I heard growing up. This is what you were going to be doing.
No, it was a surprise to me. And I noticed it surprised you kids too.
You bet.
Actually, as a defense contract negotiator, 20 years traveling, doing my thing in the man's world, I moved out here to Seattle, took a job in the defense industry. And Seattle being the mecca of metaphysical stuff, I attended my very first Whole Life Expo, got a tarot card reading by a lovely Irish lady. And in it, she said, "You're going to be working in some public relations, and I think it looks like TV." And I'm going, "Oh, yeah, okay." All right. And then consequently later, she came to town, and she was a guest on a local public access show. She invited me to be in the studio audience. She invited me up during the show to be one of the guinea pigs.
Sounds good.
Got me on TV. And I thought, how good you are. Here I am on TV. This must be what the tarot card reading was.
Right.
Well,
there's a little more
did
to
I
it.
know. Yeah. She kind of took me inside and she says, "No, there's more to it." Actually, what I did is I met the group of people that were hosting that show and started volunteering. Started going out remote interviewing, and my very first set of interviews was with Cher, who works to help homeless people find jobs, and it was great work. It was rewarding, fulfilling. I enjoyed it, and the producer consequently got too busy, and the lottery came up, and someone said, "Go for it, do your own show,"
And there we are.
Here we are.
Wow. So where did you come up with the name Journey?
I found myself enjoying that journey and enjoying growing as I was meeting people and doing some community work at the time through TV. And I thought, well, let's use that. Let's help people on their journey, because so often I think we're focused on the destination, the end of the road, instead of enjoying every step along the way. So every day I remind myself, enjoy the journey.
Great, great. Now, I can see you having your aspirations for wanting to do this show, but you can't just show up at a set and say, "Okay, I'm doing a show." You can't direct and do the camera and everything else. So how did you assemble the crew?
It's all volunteer work here in a public access. And as you know,
well, let's see.
We pull in everybody.
This is true.
Kids, best friends, whoever shows up.
This is true.
Sometimes crew doesn't show up, but then sometimes other people do. So what has happened through synchronicity has been that often crew, has just sort of stepped forward, or people that have volunteered. So it is all volunteer. You yourself.
Audio, camera, and now director. This is true.
Yes.
Great. So do you remember who your first guest was?
When I started Journey, I had the opportunity, and at the time, Dan, my soulmate and starting to work, in Journey with me, really wanted to focus in on some of the UFO information. And we found out that they were having a UFO convention in town. And he dropped me off and he said, "Now go get one of the speakers for the show." And I'm going, how do I do that, So I picked on, of all people, a Russian who barely spoke English. And I'm trying to explain, would you come to a TV picture show with me where and he's, oh yeah, he's quite charming. And actually that was my first show, was with Dr. Valerie Uvarov, quite a worldwide traveler and the UFO contactee, studying what's going on in Russia and around Europe. And we did an hour-long show, and it went like that. totally winging it. And he was delightful, very charming, and there we were. We were off and running.
Hey, great. So your topics have really varied over the couple of years. Explain some of the transitioning you've covered everything from metaphysical, new age, to manifestation, to now you're really into a lot of UFO type of experiences.
I think it's going with the changing times too, really, because the guests are showing up that are authoring books, like Richard Hoagland, The Monument of Mars. More information like that is surfacing. So the shows have been following the trend, but I have done a lot of mainstream shows with authors like James Redfield, The Celestine Prophecy, and Marlo Morgan, The Mutant Message. And I did a show on how to make your own runes and how to do a rune reading. And we've talked about psychic growth, how to develop your psychic ability. So it's kind of nuts to bolts. But with the changing times, UFO stuff is out there.
You bet, you bet.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of James Redfield and the Celestine Prophecy, I understand you've coined a phrase somewhat from reading James Redfield's book, The Celestine Prophecy. You call them Celestine moments, those just two coincidental moments. And I gather, too, that you've had some of those Celestine moments in trying to pull off some of your shows at the last minute with Dan. Can you share some of them?
Yeah.
I know it's pretty interesting, some things that have happened to make you do your show, let your show go on.
Yeah, it falls into, when it's going to work, it always falls into place. And that's how we know we're sort of doing the right thing. Because if it falls into place nicely, as pointed out in James Redfield's book, and when I did meet him and interview him, and I said, boy, you know, I've had some wonderful Celestine moments. He said, that's the first time I've heard that term used. And it's a delight to have him, you know, honor me with saying that, as well as being a Southerner. He was a charming guest.
Sure.
But the Celestine moments are those synchronicity moments, those nothing happens by chance. You,
well
right. And like I said, sometimes, one morning Dan and I left at 8:30 for a 10 o'clock shoot, and a couple that were both camera people called and said their rental home was flooding and they had to go take care of that. So we're driving to the studio without any camera crew whatsoever. And we get there and we're going like, well, what are we going to do? And the guest had brought a Stargate, a copper pyramid that he was setting up, and lo and behold, two people came to help him set it up. One, a professional photographer, and the other person had been in the entertainment industry and knew how to do audio, sat down and ran the board, and we were off and running.
And the
no
show
problem.
went on.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's great. Well, you were talking about sightings and UFO contact kind of coming into mainstream public now, and that is so true. But, you know, 2 years ago, you were the one sitting down with Richard Hoagland, you know, who discovered the face on Mars.
Yeah.
And it's just really interesting. Do you feel that the public at norm now is kind of accepting more of, I guess, UFOs and the possibility of contact? And
I think so, because 2 years ago he was upsetting NASA, to say the least, still, by him, you know, talking about where's the observer, how come we're not getting pictures of Mars, and it was that very hot time frame that I stepped forward and interviewed him, and it was a very sticky situation, because you were looking at, is NASA covering up stuff or is it not? Is the government covering up stuff or is it not?
Right.
Do they not want this information out or not? And so we did 4 shows. We ran a whole series for the whole month. And lo and behold, this year in '94, Sightings has finally put the face on Mars and handled it with credibility.
right.
And crop circles, and we did crop circles. We even did our own Chehalis crop circle here in Washington. So, and those are being handled, I believe, with a much more respectful, credible method of documenting it in good journalism.
Right. Well, too, I know we have a picture somewhere here of a shoot with Richard Hoagland. Maybe we can come back to that as it
Here's
down
just
in
some
here.
of our guests.
Yeah, you'll see kind of assemblage of pictures of some guests. I guess, too, what I was trying to get into, you did just come back yourself from a UFO convention.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
It's the 4th annual UFO International Congress and Film Festival, and it meets, it's been meeting in Nevada. This year it met 90 miles north of Las Vegas in a little town called Mesquite, close to Area 51, that very popular Black Project super secret UFO area. And over 300 people attended the conference. There were speakers from 9 a.m. in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, and I represented Journey with a show that we had done with David Chase, UFO illustrator. And Monday night it showed, and it was very well received, the Galactic Family. But videos inundated the Congress of sightings and ships and people talking about contacts. And we even went out with Eddie Page, who was a keynote speaker there, and claims to have a Pleiadian father. And we went out on a trek looking for a spaceship to land, and we had quite an experience. There was something going on. You know, we didn't see a ship per se, but something went on. It was quite fun.
Sure. You've also been doing, I guess, quite a bit of traveling this last year with different things like this going on, different events. I know you were in Montana as a guest speaker. I think it's just odd that people in Montana, you know, not really knowing who Brenda Roberts is, but yet they get a video sent to them, they sit and watch your video, and here you're coming to town and you packed the place in. And tell us about some of those experiences. You're gathering quite the following yourself, and your popularity and just sharing your shows and your guests with everybody seems to be of great interest to a lot of people.
It's nice to get the message out and do the shows, like we've done 100 shows now. Dan and I did 75 shows in 1 year, which is a phenomenal task. And then, of course, you've stepped in and helped, you know, carry on. And of course, in acknowledgement of Dan and, you know, the folks that have watched Journey, he died in February. So we're honoring him too with all the work that he's done by talking about the celebration. But traveling now and helping network Journey shows on other public access cable companies is really something I enjoy, because the shows are good, the guests are authors, they're well known, they have wonderful messages. It's great to have, other than the Seattle area, sharing these messages. And so as people are willing to network, they're calling up and saying, if you'll ship me some shows, I'll get them aired. And that's how it's happening. And then sometimes they call me up and want me to come and be a guest speaker, and then we have a lot of fun doing that.
Oh yeah. So where else are your shows being shown?
We're looking at Houston, you know, to show especially the ones about Mars and the Montauk Project, the Philadelphia experiment, NASA, you know, being down there, the Space Center.
Right.
Yes, we've had some of them air in Cincinnati, and Missoula. MCAT is picking up Journey. They're airing on Bainbridge Island right now. People are trying to get them up pretty well all over this area, from Tacoma to Bellingham. So people are stepping forward and saying, hey, we hear about your show in Seattle and we want it where we are. Well, that's good.
Yeah. So tell us about some of your guests that have come to the show, and some, I guess, highlight moments. Or I know it was really fun having Marlo Morgan here, and again, that was even kind of a last minute, everything fell into place with her, and it was wonderful having her.
That was a remarkable show. I want to, you know, add too that was really a trying show. If you recall, the first time we interviewed Marlo Morgan was you know, the morning we had heard about Dan's death, and so you stepped forward and sat in the director's chair, and at the time you felt a lot of Dan's assistance. I remember we all did. We were in the studio where
directing, sitting down and being told to direct today. Yeah, I definitely felt something helping me, or someone helping or assisting.
And her being just a wonderful person that she is, and so warm and easygoing, was an easy show. But I have done yet another show with her and author Robert Wolfe. Now, she was in town for just several hours, and I had what I considered pretty bad studio time, 7 p.m. till midnight.
Right.
On a Wednesday, and I'm going, who on earth am I going to get on a Wednesday night? And lo and behold, I find out Marlo's in town signing books. She has the East West bookstore. She had downtown to be at. She had all over. And she said by 10:30 at night she'd be through. And she said, gee, isn't that a little late? And I said, you'd never believe it, but I have studio time till midnight. She waltzes in at 10:45, and we do a show, and you know, she catches a plane the next day. So that's how it happens. They just fall into place. And I told her, I said, you know, Marlo, you won't believe this, or maybe you will, because of her work with the real people. But I dreamed about doing that show with her. And of course, the Aborigines say that they dream everything in life. So she's going, way to go.
Great. So tell us about James Redfield. Boy, still #1 seller, or at least in the top selling.
Oh yeah, and they're after him for screen rights. And you know, the first thing I wanted to know is, did you run through the jungle? And he said, not exactly, but you know, later we got to talk, and I said, gee, you know, is it possible you might have done that in a past life? And he says, you know, anything's possible, because that experience, the idea of this manuscript being real, is so real to him that he had a sense of it existing. So it's like maybe in another dimension, in another time, it does exist. Perhaps it does right now.
Right. Well, so you've done 100 shows. That's terrific. What do you see in the future for Journey? Are you going to continue with shows, or are you expanding?
We're still trucking along with shows, but we'd like to get a crew and go on the road. I had an article written about a bunch of us that do shows, and in it they said, Brenda wants to be the Charles Kuralt on the road, tracking down UFOs and, you know, having a couple cameras to do that. We could always ship these shows back to be aired here and other places, but getting out and really sort of going to some of the sacred sites like in Sedona and really filming on site and being able to bring that footage back in is my desire. That's what I would hope to do.
Right. I understand too you're getting together a crew too that might want to participate in this, and
people are stepping forward. They're calling me, and they're camera people, and they're business people that would like to actually, let's put this together, and you know, let's go after some funding and get you the crew you need, and you know, someone with a motor home and someone with this and that is all stepping forward, and it's like synchronistically falling in place. So we believe that's what we'll be doing really soon. So we're excited about that.
Great, great. So, well, speaking of foreseeing futures, what do you see as far as UFO contacts? And
oh boy, based on that International Congress and video after video and photograph after photograph, and the variety of vehicles and crafts and ships and lights, and even lights that seem to be interdimensional and communicative. They're interacting with people. People are like putting their hands up, and the ships are following the motion, or the lights are responding to the people if they sort of telepathically, without fear, step out and notice the lights, and then there seems to be a form of communication going on. So whether or not it's just more people are reporting it, or there is a step up in activity, I believe it's getting to be into some really exciting times, and we want to be right there. I want to step forward, you know, when that ship lands and go, hi, what took you so long?
I think you will be the one to be there too. Now, why do you feel they're here? Why do you feel they want contact with us, with just everybody you've talked to and the conferences now you've gone to? What is your understanding of why they are here?
It appears that we living on this planet are in for some changes. And it's depicted in the Celestine prophecy as an underlying current of energy, a switch in being able to live a more harmonious, balanced life, being able to tap into energy, intuition, have mystical experiences, manifest things, have this flow that we talk about when things flow nicely. You know you've slipped from this kind of workaday world situation into more of a spirit flow life. If we're spirits in a physical sort of rental body for a while, just think of the possibilities of what we can do.
Yeah, you bet. Well, I know you're just waiting for them to come knock at your door. I'm still kind of hoping they'll go next door.
Well, living out at North Bend, the folks that I rented a little apartment upstairs, and they've had to turn off their security brink system because something keeps flashing, turning on the lights at night, and they go, does a ship like follow you? Or you know?
All right.
I go, well, maybe.
Possibly, could be. Now too, I know you've probably talked about this in some of your past shows, and you're really, the stuff we see on, I guess, shows like Sightings and Encounters is Some of it's really a little scary, and that's probably why I'm a little scared. But at least with you and doing some of your shows, you've kind of brought forth, there's a positive message and a positive, explain, I guess, the two different groups of aliens or what's going on here.
We think that just like in this world, there's the opportunity to do this or that. And this or that could be considered good or evil, although we believe that we're all here to learn lessons and there's no mistakes. When we do something that's what we consider negative, and we sort of pay the cost, or we reap the karma, the cause and effect for it, we learn the lesson next time to maybe do it this way, which is in more of a positive mode. So I think the underlying thing that we're cluing into is to step into more a positive attitude, and there are positive encounters, there are positive visitations, and there are many wonderful light beings showing up in people's bedrooms that aren't frightening them. There are many episodes of people being very frightened and going through what they consider abductions. I think the jury's still out as to, is there a group of ETs that are not kind, or maybe they just haven't learned how to be kinder. There is definitely a group of ETs, and at the Congress there are many reports of people being healed by being visited by either an angelic being,
right,
an interdimensional being, or an extraterrestrial. And they have bona fide medical proof, that they were home dying of cancer, and they had this visitation or this contact, and they go back to their doctor, and it's gone. So whatever's happening, there's a light side. That's the one we focus on.
Right, right. Now, speaking of, I guess, interdimensional, you have been hearing that I guess we're approaching a fourth dimensional shift, or
right.
What's going on with that, and what types of changes do you see happening?
Yeah, there's a lot of focus on Earth's changes. There's a lot of, I think, fear in looking at that. Prophecies on TV probably scared the dickens out of most people. I mean, the year 2000 is like in our face almost, and it's the end.
We're going to be at the bottom of the ocean. Is really appealing to me.
What is scary about that is that people look at that and they'll program themselves to check out before the year 2000 because they don't want to go through chaos. And change is very frightening to people. But we did a show on Revelations, and Revelations is the scariest chapter in the Bible. And yet the good news is that it actually is heralding a new beginning, a new time. And I believe what it's talking about now is this dimensional shift. Our solar system, our galaxy, our planet is just moving. It's just doing its thing. It's a normal thing it's doing. It's moving into a new dimension. We just have to be here. And we have to learn to resonate at this new vibration. It's a higher frequency. It's a speeding up of our own vibration. And it's a transmutation process. People are receiving a lot of energy planetarily, and they're either using it to become a little bit emotionally imbalanced, or they're using it to learn to really manifest and get in with this wonderful flow. It's your choice. And it's down to that. It's your choice. And I think it's going to happen regardless. So it's probably best to get on with it and grow, because why not? What do you have got to lose, So I think accepting that and trying to understand what's happening is probably also a journey we all should be taking. It's an inner journey and an outer journey.
Now, your journey for the past 2 years with meeting, just colorful guests, wonderful experiences. I know that we're all hoping you might put it in book form, or at least just you've got these wonderful tapes going, but I know too you have a writing background, and I just think you've really experienced some wonderful experiences, and we're all hoping it might be in book form. Is that a possibility?
Many people have asked. I tell some of the little anecdotes about the guest. I love to write these little poems about being here on this planet at this time, and I often give them as gifts. So people have enjoyed that, and they've asked, you're about the 12th you know, you in line also. So, you know, if you look at the Celestine prophecy, we should accept messages from people. So you bet I'm going to find some time and write some of these things down, and I hope people will enjoy them because it's been a fun-filled time. It's been some drama, some intrigue and mystery. Traipsing through the Nevada desert in search of UFOs, you know, was a story in itself. So what's going on in North Bend even is a story in itself. So you bet I will. Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Well, we heard it right here.
Okay. You got me committed now.
Yes.
I know at one time you wanted to commit me. You know, you kids didn't handle me.
This is true.
Moving
I
into
have
this.
to admit, you know, 2+ years ago when you started into this, and I'm living in California still, and you're telling me that you're doing a TV show. First of all, you're doing what? You were a senior contracts administrator. What's going on? So that in itself was a shock. Then to hear some of your topics was definitely a shock. Now, I didn't grow up with tarot cards being a part of my life. You were not saying, is she going to pass the test? Let's see, and spreading out my tarot cards. So you really did fall into this world, and I know that just even the Seattle area has kind of taken you in, and you've had just, I guess, positive energy here and the people you've met. It kind of just shocked all of us.
It did, and you've handled it quite well. I've got to admit, I'm very proud that you've stepped forward, and you've even gone to some of the meetings with me. So remember Red? We had such a phenomenal time with Red Duke and him doing all these psychic readings.
Oh yeah, he was a wonderful, I guess, sensitive they call him. He was able to tap in on what's going on. So yeah, it's been quite a, you know, Brenda Roberts 5 years ago is not Brenda Roberts you're seeing today, that's for sure. But she is a happier Brenda Roberts, for sure, and certainly has some ambitions and goals and wants to send a message out. Tell us about what we can be looking forward to with some future guests. Do you have your eye on some people, or what's coming on?
I met lots of fascinating people, and as they come to Seattle, I've got them booked. Robert Dean to talk about the government and uncovering, and authors, Randolph Winters, who's working with the Pleiadian Connection and has a book, and so lots more to come. Just stay tuned.
Well, we will be staying tuned, definitely. Well, thank you for joining us on this 100th show celebration of Journey. I'm sure you've all been wanting to meet and see a different side of Brenda Roberts, so I hope you got to meet. She's a terrific gal, take it from me, her daughter. She's wonderful. So keep watching. We've enjoyed all of you, and we'd also like to bring our crew out while we're rolling credits here so you can kind of see a little more behind the scenes. Again, thanks for joining us, and stay tuned.